Are you ready to step back in time and witness a legendary war that lasted over a century? The 100 Years' War was not just any ordinary battle for power, it was a pivotal moment in the history of Europe. For 116 long years, the kings of England and France went head-to-head in a fierce battle for dominance, with brief truces being the only breaks in the conflict. This war saw groundbreaking innovations in military technology and tactics that would revolutionize warfare forever in Europe. The golden age of chivalry during the war eventually gave way to its decline, and stronger national identities emerged in both countries that would eventually become dominant global powers. The 100 Years' War is the longest military conflict in European history, divided into three phases: the Edwardian War, the Caroline War, and the Lancastrian War. Despite initially winning battles, the English forces eventually lost control to the French forces under House of Valois, resulting in separate French and English monarchies. This conflict was not just about power, but about territory and the question of succession after the interruption of the direct male line of the Capetian dynasty. The roots of the conflict between the French and English can be traced back to the origins of the English royal family, which was actually of French origin thanks to William the Conqueror. As a result, English monarchs held titles and lands within France, which meant they were vassals to the French kings. This caused major tension between the two monarchies throughout the Middle Ages. French monarchs sought to limit English power by taking away lands whenever they could, especially during times of conflict with Scotland, an ally of France. While English holdings in France varied in size throughout history, by 1337, only Gascony remained under English control. In 1328, the death of Charles IV of France without any sons or brothers brought a new principle to light, Salic law, which disallowed female succession. This meant that Edward III of England's claim to the throne was rejected, and instead, the throne went to Charles's patrilineal cousin, Philip, Count of Valois. Edward protested, but ultimately did homage for Gascony, and Philip took it back into his hands. This prompted Edward to renew his claim to the French throne, this time by force of arms. The disagreement ultimately led to the outbreak of the 100 Years' War. The 100 Years' War had numerous consequences that impacted the political and social landscape of Europe. The war helped create stronger national identities in both England and France, which eventually emerged as global powers. The idea of national identity became more prominent and eventually led to the formation of modern nation-states. Both sides made groundbreaking innovations in military technology and tactics during the war, which forever changed warfare in Europe. The use of longbows, gunpowder, and other advancements greatly impacted the strategies and effectiveness of armies. The war witnessed the height of chivalry, but eventually gave way to its decline. The widespread use of mercenaries and the brutality of the war led to a decline in the ideal of knightly honor and chivalric values. The war ended with the English losing control to the French, resulting in separate French and English monarchies. The loss of French territories also contributed to the decline of the English monarchy's power. The war was very costly and led to significant economic strains on both sides. The devastation caused by the war disrupted trade, commerce, and agriculture, leading to economic hardships for many people. Overall, the 100 Years' War had a profound impact on Europe, changing the course of history in multiple ways. With the French victory, the seeds of instability that were sown with the Norman conquest in 1066 were finally put to rest. William the Conqueror became both the vassal to, as Duke of Normandy, and the equal of, as King of England, the King of France, leading to a long period of tension between the two countries. The war's end resulted in England losing all of its continental possessions, except for Calais, shattering the English dream of a joint monarchy. The war also sparked a rejection of all things French in England, despite the fact that French had been the language of the ruling classes and commerce since the time of the Norman conquest. However, the war also fostered a sense of national pride and unity in both France and England. In France, the war accelerated the process of transforming the feudal monarchy into a centralized state. Meanwhile, in England, the political and financial troubles that arose from the defeat were major factors in the War of the Roses. If you liked this video, you'll love the books. Check them out on Amazon by searching up Scott Matthews.